Hey, what's up guys? It's Jack.Lion here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a simple mapping button for Macs so that you can control anything from live. And for some reason there's no proper video on YouTube to do this, so I've decided to do one for you. And I learned how to do this from a mentor of mine and a friend. I'll be linking him up and mentioning him later, but for now I'm just going to get into it. Because when I wanted to patch, and I'm pretty new to Macs, but I had a simple idea that I wanted to try, and when I wanted to go and patch, I realized I didn't know how to do it, and it really prevented me from flowing. So here you guys go. Alright, we can ignore this for now. I'm going to go over this in a moment. The first thing I'm going to do is add a scale. Oh, and by the way, I'm just doing a brief overview. I'm not getting into the live object model or anything like that, because I just want to help you guys get flowing, and like, if to delve into that is like a whole rabbit hole. If you want to learn more about this so you can be more versatile in using APIs pathways, then I would recommend looking into the live object model and API pathways for Macs. But this should get the job done for a simple mapping button. So here, the scale, I'm going to actually give you an example, like a crude patch where you take MIDI notes that you're playing in a MIDI channel or from a clip, and we're going to use that as an input, and then have the mapping map the MIDI value to a parameter so that lower MIDI notes play a lower parameter value and higher MIDI notes play a higher one. So in order to do that, we need to take a note in, and this is just my example. You can use the pathway however you want, but this is just as an example. And we're going to divide that by 127 point per period, and then live dot num box, connect that, and then next we're going to add a message, and that's going to carry a $1 and a space 10. Oops. Okay, connect that to the live num box. Now the next thing we're going to add is a line object, and then connect that to your scale. So what this is doing is taking your note in, and it's basically scaling it to a value between 0 and 1 so that it is useful for our mapping. I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be useful for your application, but this is just what we're doing for ours. So most of you can disregard this unless this is what you're going for. But the rest of this video is focused solely on creating the mapping button. Okay, so the next thing we do is create m4l.api.get parameter, or sorry, m4l.api device parameter remote. There it is right there. So I'll select it and connect scale object to the second inlet of the m4l device parameter remote. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is add a message. Now the message is going to hold a 0. Alright, now I'm going to leave that and create a live.text object, and then this is going to be our mapping button. So open up the inspector, and then change the scripting name to map, change the long name and the short name to map, change the range to map space map, and then change the text off and text on label to map. Okay, now you have your map button. The next thing to do is to create another live.text object, and then scroll all the way to value and then mode and select button. Okay, now you can use this as a button. I like to change the text off label to X because it's obvious what this does. Well, because I haven't told you, I'll say it now. This is going to be our unmapped button. Okay, so it makes sense to make this an X. Now the last thing I'm going to add regarding things of this nature is going to be a comment box. Okay, so now I'm going to add some more objects. So we're going to take this patcher map down here, and then we're going to connect that to our 0, our message that holds 0 rather. And this is going to the input on the map. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is take the outlet of the patcher map and then add that to the the outlet of the patcher map, and then connect that to the third outlet inlet of the m4l.api device parameter remote. Okay, now we're going to create a new object and call it the m4l.api get parameter names. Okay, now connect the p map to that as well. Connect that to a prepend set, and then we're going to connect this to our comment. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is add another message that's going to hold ID 0. Okay, now that is also going to the third inlet of the M4L device remote, or device parameter remote. Alright, so we have the first layer of our patch set up. Okay, actually, sorry, I need to connect the unmap to the ID. Okay, what else? I need to connect this map to, I believe I connected to the patcher map. Yeah, so the map is inputting information to the patcher map, and it's also receiving information. See that? Okay. Alright. So the next thing we must do is go another layer deep into the PMap. So we do that by holding Command and double clicking on it. Now you'll see I have another patcher set up in here. That's going to be our final layer, but we'll get to that in a moment. The first thing we're going to do here is set up our network. Oh, sorry, let me close this window. Okay, cool. So now you can see, here we go. So, whoa, what's going on? There we go. Cool. So here's our final layer that we're going to be going into, the don't map to yourself. Right now we're in our second layer, and we need to create an inlet object. We do that by just typing in inlet. I already have one, so I'm going to delete that, and an outlet. So just type in outlet. Okay. Now the next thing we do is create a toggle. Okay, now connect your inlet to the toggle, create a gate, connect that, and now we're going to create a live.path, live, what is this, live_set view selected _parameter. Okay, let me just make sure I got that right. Live.path, live_set view selected parameter. Okay, cool. Now we're going to connect that to the second inlet of our gate. The next thing you do is create a defer low. Connect that to the gate, and then a substitute. We're going to put a 0 after that, and then connect that to our defer low rather, and then the next thing we add is gate 1 space 1. Okay. Now we're going to connect the gate outlet to the inlet of the outlet. Alright, that was a little confusing. So I'm going to say it again. We're going to connect the gate object, the gate 1 object, to the inlet of this outlet. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is drag this P don't map yourself down and connect this to the first inlet of the gate, And then we're going to actually bring that a little lower and connect the second outlet of the substitute and connect that to the P don't map to yourself thing. Now we connect the second inlet of the substitute to, sorry, the second outlet of the substitute to the second inlet of gate 1-1. Now we've completed the second layer. Okay. Now it's always good to go back and check your work. I can see, I think I did pretty good on this, so I'm going to move on to the third layer. So again, you can double click a command and I have to open up this panel. Okay, cool. So this is our third layer. This is the don't patch to yourself, or don't map to yourself thing. So we're going to take inlet 1 and outlet 1, space them apart. And then we're going to add this object and call it TBI. And those are spaces between all of those. Connect the inlet to the inlet of the TBI. And then right next to that, we're going to create a live.path live_set view this underscore device. Okay. Now we're going to create a message and type in get path. Alright, now you can copy paste that and move this other one over there. Now get path is going to go into a live.object. And then you can go ahead and connect the second outlet of this live path thing to the second inlet of the live.object. And as well, you can connect the second outlet of that live.path to the first inlet of the get path. Okay, now the first outlet of the TBI will go into the get path. It will also go into the other get path that's under it. And then we're going to connect that to another live object. Okay, now connect the second outlet of TBL into the first, or sorry, the second inlet of the live object. Oh, that's odd. For some reason, I can't connect it. What did I do? Is it TBL? Sorry guys, this TBI is supposed to be a TBL. That makes more sense. Sorry, I's and L's get confusing. So anyway, live object, we connect the second outlet of TBL into the live object, and then create a ZL space ECLIS2. Okay, now connect the first outlet of the live object to the first inlet of the CL eclipse thing, and then create a ZL compare. Connect those. Alright, now your live.path, or sorry, your live object on the right will go into the second inlet of the ZL compare. And below the ZL compare, you can type cell 1 or select 1, and then connect those two. Alright, now the last three objects should be T0, T1, and then I believe it's TI. Okay, now we connect these like so. So the first inlet of cell 1 goes to T0, and the second inlet of cell 1 goes to, or sorry, the second outlet of cell 1 goes to the inlet of T1. Now both of those T0 and T1 outlets go into TI, and then TI goes into the inlet of the outlet. Okay, so we're gonna save the patch. Alright, let's see. Let's see what happens when we give it MIDI. Okay, so I had to cut the video because I made a mistake earlier and I wanted to highlight that really quick. So this box right here, I mean, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because you're not really going to be seeing this unless you choose to. But I suppose it does matter because it has to do with the whether it's integer or floating point. So I created this number box and I didn't realize that I had to change the unit style to float. So there you go. I can delete this now. And now I have a floating point value when MIDI plays. Watch. As the MIDI changes, it'll change floating point values. Okay? So it's converting our MIDI to a value between 0 and 1 so that we can use it. Okay? Now the next thing we're going to do is highlight these 3 objects and then add to presentation. And I'm going to move this down. All this over. And go to presentation mode. And then I'm honestly not too skilled at this. I'm not going to make this fancy. I'm just going to try and demonstrate that it works. I'm sure a lot of you are going to criticize me for this, but who cares? I'm going to now set my width. And to be honest, like if anybody has like you know, tips on this, like please, because I've been having trouble with it for some reason. It seems that I don't fully know how to create live objects or live devices. Where is it? I have to be in presentation mode, yeah. Yeah. I lost it. Anyway, let's see if it works. I'm going to save it. Okay, that doesn't work for us, so I'm going to try and do this because this has been working for me for some reason. Let's save. Okay, cool. Now if I hit map and map to something, it should work, but it doesn't. So what I have to do is go back and troubleshoot. Okay, so I realized that I gave you the wrong information earlier. So earlier I told you to put this into the gate via the first outlet, but I actually meant to tell you that it's supposed to come out of the second outlet of the live set view object. Okay, so now it should work. I'm going to close the patch and save it, and then we're going to switch to ableton. And now here's our device, not looking so pretty, but we can now map it to any parameter. Watch what happens when I map it to You can see the level knob goes higher or lower depending on what node I press. And if you want to unmap it, you just click the X, and then you can map it to something else, like this frequency. Oh wait, you can't see that. Here. Alright, let me move my lip. Do this. Boom. Oops. Alright, check it out. I mapped this to the frequency now, so that's a little easier to see. You could use this mapping button for anything you imagine. And I learned this from my buddy and mentor Woulg actually hooked me up with this knowledge because I was struggling to figure this out, and I eventually reached out to him, kind enough to help me out. He's awesome. Him and I both give lessons. Him and I both make music. You should check it out. I'll link you in the description below. But I really appreciate you guys watching the video, and I hope you learned something. Happy patching.